All right. Today we are welcoming Carmen Cordova, and I hope she doesn't elbow me in the ribs for saying this, but Carmen is, I believe, our oldest member at the gym, and has been with us for quite a while. Was with Kate over at Lifetime Fitness. You trained her one-on-one, correct?
Yeah. How long did I train you for?
Maybe 3 years.
Okay. Before it seemed like longer.
Maybe longer.
Yeah. How old were you when you came to me?
Okay, so, I was still teaching. I was in my 60s.
Okay.
Yeah, I was old enough.
Yeah. No, I'm just trying to think. Like if you knew the year, then I could tell you how long before I left.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I came here pretty much right after you left, and I was 65. But in my 60s, I remember I used to
2013-ish.
Even before that.
2012.
Because she trained with me for three years before I left, and so I left.
No, coming over to.
Oh yes,
CrossFit.
Yeah, 2013.
2013.
Yeah.
So,
So maybe around 2010. Yeah.
I used to talk to my mother on the treadmill, so she was still alive. So it's been a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I knew that. That's neat. What year did she pass?
I'm not good with years, but I know that it was maybe 15 years ago now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And you had done a lot of more like came from a conditioning background, like running.
You always have me as a runner. I've never been a runner.
Okay.
I
just had that in my mind.
You do. You always, yeah. I did triathlons.
Okay.
Which does
there's a running portion.
There is.
Yeah.
And you got me much faster.
Freudian slip there.
Not at all fatter. But
we need to stop the podcast now.
Reset.
So running was always
not what I wanted you to say. No.
My weakness, and I said I want to be a faster runner.
Okay, well maybe that's why it was in my because I remember working with you on running a lot, but I knew I had to get you stronger.
Yeah, and then it became my best.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But you used to get me on the treadmill and make it max angle, and then you would push that button. And then if I tried to hold on, you would like smack my hand. And you said, "You're not even breathing hard. You're not even breathing hard. I've been a trainer for a long time. You're not out of breath." I said, "Yes, but my legs feel like rubber."
Yep.
You weren't falling off the back yet.
I was close.
One of the first workouts I ever did with Kate was it was the hardest treadmill workout I've ever done. It was starting at like the top incline, and you walked, and then you would like run every other minute, then it would go down. And it started at like 15, and then you go down 1 degree every 2 minutes. And it was like a 30-minute thing, and you ended sprinting. And I was like, that's the hardest thing I've ever done on a treadmill.
That's an old Mike Davies bodybuilding workout.
Okay.
I still have some of his things. I mean, gosh, like it's been literally 20 years, and I'll still kind of cycle through some of his workouts.
Well, you would say, "We're going to sprint now." And I go, "Kate, I've been sprinting this whole time."
That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, we had just got over from the old gym that we had started at to CrossFit Grandview when you had started. Not too long. It had only been maybe a year, probably, I would say.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and then Kate, because that's when Kate, she was at Lifetime for a little bit when we were at that Grandview, and then it became, like, she was working with some of our clients and stuff, and it became pretty evident that, like, there was too much kind of mixing of Lifetime and CrossFit and all that. Yeah. So it was like, okay, she needs to come over, stop, or do one or the other.
It was a scary move. I mean, I had been there for 13 years, so it was really, it was really scary.
That's like home.
Yeah. Even when you don't like the home anymore,
exactly.
you still go back to it.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, and it's a great gym in so many ways, and I have a friend that manages Lifetime Dublin, and she's an amazing person. She was an amazing manager at the time, and I really had and still do have a lot of respect for her, Jessica Indian. And but I remember thinking, what if I die here? Like, what if I work here until I die? Yeah. Like, this is going to be a sad story. But it was a lot of fun to train you. you know, and you, I don't think I had trained, definitely a lot of older individuals, but no one that pushed themselves like you did or had the vigor that you did, you know.
Competitive.
Yeah, or just willing to be uncomfortable. So it was really neat.
Yeah, I like that about it.
Yeah.
I guess most people don't.
Well, it's what keeps you young, you know. In my opinion, is to kind of like go out of your comfort zone a little and try new things, no matter how silly it was. And you didn't bat an eye, you know, when I was talking about coming to CrossFit. You're like, well,
I did a little bit, and you know, what convinced me is when you said that Branda's mother did it. I said, okay, then I can do it.
Okay.
I didn't have a model.
Yeah.
But you know, I would see that you had rings, and then when I was in high school, the gym classes were very different. I mean, we had the ropes.
Yep.
And we had rings, and we had the gym divided into half, like the basketball court, and the boys were on one side and the girls on the other. But when we did the rings, we would go here and we'd swing like monkeys. Go all the way across the gym. We got to go to the boys' side and then come back.
That's
and
cool.
I loved showing off that I was strong.
Yeah, that's super tough.
So I thought CrossFit was going to be that. I thought I was going to do that with the rings.
Like a ninja warrior.
Well, no. To your point, though, I mean, the rings, when you see things like that, just an implement like that can be self-selective, and like you're like, I don't think I'm gonna get up on a ring. I had a girl from high school, I remember. She said something about like the workout. She's like, you guys are up on like gymnastic rings and stuff all the time. Like, I'm like, she thought that was like a big part of what we did, or like something she would have to do. And that's why I was like, no. And, but it's hard it really is sometimes hard to explain. Like, it's not all Olympic weightlifting and
it's
jumping up on rings and stuff like that. So
it's everything.
It is. What are some of your favorite things? We were talking a little bit about it before this, like to do in CrossFit classes and stuff.
You know what I love about CrossFit is it's always different.
Yep.
I'm extremely ADD, and so every workout's different. And with every workout, you never do it long enough to get bored. So I really like that about it. I don't know if I have favorite moves. Some are more challenging for me. Anything overhead is challenging for me.
Yep.
So I was in school before Title IX, and I just read last night. That came in 1972. When I played basketball in high school, we could only run half a court, the women, because they thought our hearts couldn't handle it. And now I have a resting heart rate in the 40s, and my max goes up to the 170. So there's nothing wrong with my heart.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That's just wild.
They still
it's
had
just so wild to conceptualize.
They still had half court basketball, and when this is something I just learned in the last year or two. Up through the 80s, in certain small, like, you know, out in like some of the plain states, they still did women's basketball as half court, and I believe, and I don't know if she did it in a half court game, but I believe Reggie Miller's sister, Cheryl Miller, who was one of the best women's players of all time.
Made a shot from half court?
Well, no, she scored 100.
I did
I
that.
believe she scored 100 points in a high school game, and it might have been a half court game.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
100 points.
Yeah.
That's
So
wild.
she's
I used to score close. I used to score like 60 points.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was really, I could have gone to college on a basketball scholarship.
Yeah, I remember you saying like you felt like you were like you. It was before they had many opportunities for girls.
We didn't have any.
Yeah.
We didn't have any. I went to OU and played on the intramurals against dorm.
Okay, cool.
Our dorm always won.
And what city did you grow up in?
Perrysburg, Ohio.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Went to Perrysburg High School.
And that's really close to where my mom went, isn't it?
Where did she go?
That's in Canton, right? She
Yeah.
went to
Oh,
Canton,
it's near Toledo.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Wrong direction. Gosh, I'm just really striking out today.
So also we could climb the rope. I mean, they made us play basketball in a half court, but they let us climb all the way up the rope. And I was the demo kid for climbing the rope, and I weighed 205 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And I just went up.
And how old were you then?
I was in high school.
Okay. So then you lost a lot of weight in college.
I lost a lot of weight in college.
But you were still really athletic at that.
Always
Yeah.
really athletic. I always played
Yeah.
every sport. I was really good in baseball. I was really good, or softball. I threw the shot put in track because I never ran very fast because I was so heavy. That slowed me down. But I could throw the shot put.
So you participated in track.
Everything.
Okay.
Anything there was, I did.
Okay. So what were you allowed to do in high school?
I mean, we played against other. We had sports. We played against other high schools, really.
Okay.
But there was no college. There was no college female sports.
Athletics.
at all.
Okay.
And they were funded very differently.
Pre-Title IX, correct.
Pre-Title
Yeah,
IX,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Funded
They didn't
very
have equal opportunity for
Not at all.
sure.
Not
Yeah.
at all. The only sport you could play, go to college on a scholarship, and you'd have to go to New England, was field hockey. And our school didn't have field hockey in Perrysburg, Ohio.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was out. My
Yeah.
father used to say I would be the first girl to go to college on a football scholarship.
Oh, Brandon's cousin is playing football. We
I'm
went.
so
That,
sorry
it's
I
so
missed that.
neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really, really cool. And
It was. We went to the game, and I mean, their team is. I mean, they're the best in this. It's like this women's pro league. It's got like 6 teams. But the weather couldn't have been worse.
Yeah,
it was
really bad.
freezing cold and raining in May. Like the week before, it would have been like 75 and sunny,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
next week it was. But it was
Miserable.
like 50 degrees and pouring down rain. But I think their team is. They won like 40,
They were amazing.
45 to
I would love to
nothing.
watch
They
that.
won
Yeah. I'd love to
60 to
play it.
nothing the week before. So they're very well coached, and they were passing the ball very effectively and just like pouring down rain.
And it's
Like,
pretty amazing she's doing it too, because she's in her mid-30s.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah.
she's like
I
36.
should, I should
What
sign
league
up.
is this? Like a
It's the
women's
same.
league?
You
It
might be the
is.
only
And
one your
it's
age.
full. It's like just full regular tackle football, like no different than guy. I mean, it's just
tough.
a
They're
regular
tough.
football
Yeah.
league. And she's
Cool to
yeah,
watch.
she's 35, 36 years old,
That's
and
great.
it's her first year doing it, and she's a defensive end, I don't think anyone's gonna stop them. They won
Yeah.
they won the championship last year.
Where did they play?
So they played at Whetstone High School.
I'd love to watch that.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
cool.
we should have let you know.
Yeah.
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 No one wanted to be at this game though.
It,
with the
just
weather.
the weather was. It was
Not
sad
that
seeing.
the play was fun to watch, but it was.
They had great music too.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they put on a pretty good show.
Yeah,
they
did.
had good production and announcing, but it was. I mean, you had to be a big fan of like someone out there playing to want to go to this
Yeah.
game.
Somebody's mother.
It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
bad weather, but it was. I'm really proud of her for doing it. It's really cool. And she's like you, Carmen. She's like sporty. Like she played sports in high school. She did some CrossFit when she went to Ohio State. When I first was
wow.
at the old Rogue Gym, Dave may even remember. Her name was Jennifer, but yeah, but she was there. Like she was an undergrad still in the very early days of Rogue. She was there for the first year that I was there. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was really neat to watch her go out.
It's
and
just
do that.
crazy how much things have changed, in
Yeah.
the past.
Well, when in elementary school, I was always the quarterback at recess. The only girl playing, but I was QB, so
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And how many siblings do you have, Carmen?
I'm number 2 out of 6.
Okay. And how many brothers?
2 brothers.
Okay.
But I grew up, so my grandparents lived up till, my cousins lived here, we lived next door, my other cousins lived up the other hill, and I had an older brother and 3 older boy cousins.
Okay.
And whatever they did, I did.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say you had to run around with a pack of boys. It'd
Well,
be that
I
tough.
learned how to ride a bike on one of their bikes when I was way too young, and I had to come down here and then go over the bar and go over here and balance it.
Yeah.
And my mother couldn't believe that I was riding that big bike, and I was probably 4.
Yeah.
I'm
No-
like Charlotte.
yeah. Yeah. Charlotte is very athletic.
Yeah, and daring.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and we wanted to have you on here because it's pretty neat how in shape you are still, but just the way you live life and the way you travel, and so just talk to us about like some of the travels you've had in the past couple years, places you go, things you do.
Probably the most interesting travel I had was when I graduated from OU. When I graduated, people said, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "I'm going to hitchhike around Europe." And they go, "Yeah, but are your parents okay with that?" And I said, "Yeah, they're fine with that." So I went to Europe, and I had $60 when I arrived, and I stayed over a year.
Oh wow.
I hitchhiked everywhere except in Germany because I had all these rumors that the Germans would, hurt you. The Germans did not like us. It was too close to the end of the war.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and my father fought in that war, so I was just a generation away. So, so I hitchhiked all over. I had a sleeping bag. People said, "Did you sleep in hostels?" I said, "No, I slept outside. I slept
my
outside in my
gosh.
sleeping bag." And if I were in a city, I would find a construction site because I usually had a porta potty.
Oh, wow, Carmen.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Damn.
Where did you get that idea?
People were doing it. And
Okay.
So my really good friend from high school went with me. We
Okay.
split up after Israel. We were in Israel for like 5 months.
That's a lot of time to spend together. Did you guys get into an argument, or was it
Well,
just amicable? Like,
It was always amicable. Always amicable.
okay.
But so we worked on the kibbutz, and every month you got a certain thing. You got a pack of I think you got a pack of cigarettes a week, no matter what.
Did you used to smoke?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but you bartered.
Okay, you
everything.
would trade
Yeah.
it for like food or something
Or
else. Yeah.
bus. When we went
Yeah.
on the bus to get, we didn't have any money, so we would they had a big box, and you'd throw your candy bar, your cigarettes in there. So I knew we were going to leave in 5 months, so I saved all of my candy bars, and so she loved chocolate. She ate all hers. So we were getting ready to hitchhike out. It took us a while to get a ride. She ate all 5 of my candy bars in one sitting, waiting to get a ride. So I did that. That was really fun. I mean,
Yeah.
You spent a year doing that?
a little over a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really wild.
And
What was your favorite spot you stayed in Europe?
You know, I loved Greece. The Greeks are really fun. I lived on I think 9 cents a day. I would get this bun in the morning that was like 3 cents and a yogurt. That was the first time I had a really good Greek yogurt
Yeah.
made out of sheep's milk.
Yeah.
And then there were mulberry bushes, so I used to pick those and add it to my yogurt. And then at night we go into town, which was fun because they have these bars and you sing. And I got what's the name of the drink they have there? It's a shot, and with that came feta cheese and olives, and that was my dinner. So I had
They
that
have like a
breakfast.
little snack on this side.
And so that was like.
Is it grappa? Is that what it is?
No. Oh, I can't believe I can't remember it. Retsina is the wine.
Yeah.
There's a shot that they do.
Yeah.
And there was always this music and
Yeah. Yeah.
dancing.
Yeah.
But they the men dance only, and they do these solo dances, and they're like almost like a competition. So that was
A
really
bit of
fun.
a dance-off sort of situation?
Yeah, really. So, and they were good. You know how they do that? We do the Cossack move in
Yeah, yeah.
CrossFit when you go down.
Oh yeah. That,
And
yeah.
they're
yeah.
on
Their
down.
toes.
Yeah, squatted,
Yeah.
kicking their
They do
legs up.
like
Yeah.
Dave can
Or
do
one-
that. I've seen Dave do
we
that.
felt like
yeah.
the Buddy Holly Weezer video. Where
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
dancing
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Remember
Dave
that?
can do that.
Take
I've
him to
seen
Greece
Dave
and
do
make him
that.
compete.
Yeah.
But you're down on one. You're squatted down, and the other leg kicks up.
Yes, I've seen
Yeah.
Dave can do that move.
I don't know if I've done that in a while.
I've seen him
Yeah.
do
It's
it.
Kind of like a sideways,
Dave
sideways
can do it.
pistol,
It's hard.
right?
It's very
It
hard.
is. It's like a pistol. Yeah, it's like a pistol.
I've
Yeah.
seen him
Wow,
do
that's
it.
cool.
So
But I mean, you still travel quite a.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Our last trip was to Cartagena, Colombia. I was a little bit afraid to go to Colombia because you hear about all the cartels and stuff. And then my cousin said, "No, you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine." And we were afraid to go to Ecuador because the gangs have moved in there. So my father's from Ecuador. So I mean, I went to Ecuador the first time when I was 18 months. So I was kind of born traveling. So we went to Cartagena, and that was really fun.
And what part of Colombia is that?
It's on the northern coast.
Okay.
It's on the northern coast.
What's the climate like there?
It's always tropical,
Okay.
like Florida.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was nice. It was
Yeah.
nice. We
You've
went
been to Cuba in the
to
past?
Cuba, Panama,
Yeah.
been to Thailand, Vietnam. I've been to Morocco, Turkey. I love Turkey. The
Do you?
Turkish people are fun. And the Moroccans. They are just so playful. So, and then I was in Israel, and I love the Palestinians. I mean, it just kills me that they're getting slaughtered. It does. But we would go into these kind of, I guess, like a hookah bar. You go in, and you're smoking hashish, drug of choice.
Okay.
It was so good there. So you go in there, and you're smoking, and they're passing this thing around, and they are playing all these mind games with you, and they are so funny and fun. And then all of a sudden, you're sitting there drinking tea, and you don't even know what happened, and you don't even remember the switching. and the police raided. The police raided.
I was going to say, is it sort of like tolerated? It's illegal, but
It
sort
was definitely illegal.
Okay,
And then,
yeah.
and they had a system, and then you're drinking tea, and then all of a sudden, all these police come in, and they're looking around, and they find nothing, and then you're smoking the hookah again. So that was really fun.
just drinking tea, yeah.
Wow.
Just drinking tea. Nice little afternoon.
That's pretty neat.
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, Carmen, was you told us a lot about kind of what you did growing up, and then, I don't know, the last 10, 15 years. Did you do anything? Was there a big chunk of time you didn't do any sort of focused exercise,
Yeah,
like
there-
a good
there-
30-year?
Yeah, there probably was when I had
Okay.
kids. But the thing is, I was living in Ecuador,
Okay.
and I was at 20,000 feet altitude.
Okay.
So when you're at that altitude, when you're sitting, your heartbeat is beating like you're walking, and when you're walking, it's like you're running, and when you're running, it just goes on overload.
Yeah.
And you were pretty active, though, just in, like, daily activities,
Yeah.
right? It's
Well,
different way.
this is kind of another challenge. I
Yeah.
lived in an Indian village. We had a phone from 9 in the morning to 9 at night, and we had to crank it up and talk to an operator to get an operator. We had no washing machine, no disposable diapers. Everything we bought was at the market, fresh. We had no processed food, zero. We bought our milk raw from the local dairy. When the Indians kill an animal, they put up a red flag because there's no refrigeration. We had a refrigerator, but there's no refrigeration. So they know that they've killed an animal, and everybody has to come eat their animal because it's going to spoil for the next day, which is a very interesting system.
So would you walk to the market every day?
Well, we had a car.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know how far away it was.
I mean, could have walked, but we lived on volcanic ash, which is like sand. So my mother got me a stroller, but I couldn't push it in that sand. So I used to just carry the boys on my back like the Indians. I mean, it was very functional.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So your mother lived with you, too?
No. She lived in Ohio.
Oh, okay. She bought you.
She would
Okay.
send me stuff.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So how long were you in Ecuador for?
I was there for, let's see, like 12 years.
Okay.
You say your husband was from Ecuador?
My father.
Oh, father. Okay.
So my first husband was from Serbia. He was an interesting guy. Yeah, they're tough.
I've heard the stories.
Yeah. But so we lived. It was a beautiful place. He built it out of the stones that was on the ground. It was absolutely gorgeous.
Your husband built it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before I got there, and then we had like a poi pond out there, and all kinds of flowers and fruit trees, and
Okay, cool.
yeah. So we could harvest that. We had avocado trees. This is how they eat avocados in Ecuador. So you get an avocado, it's ripe. You mush it all up inside the thing. You get a knife and you squeeze it out. Like one of those pouches.
Yeah.
It's
Kind of a
That's
good
funny.
idea. Yeah.
It's very
I never
good.
thought of that. Yeah, it's a much easier. It's a little squeeze pouch. You know.
Yeah,
That's
it's,
neat.
you don't have to use any plastic or anything. So
Yeah.
they would go get that, and we had wild asparagus and wild rhubarb. I have no idea how or why, and they used to go get that. They were like little Daniel Boones. Dushko used to go out with the Indians in the fields, and he would come back. Well, he would go out and he goes, "The guinea pigs love this. This is really good for headaches. This is good when you have a stomach ache." He knew all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's really neat.
yeah.
So when did you start to decide, like, well, maybe I want to get back into doing some sort of like focused workout type of a thing? How did that evolve, like, as you got older?
When we came back, the boys were at swimming age, so I took them to the Y.
Okay.
And so I had this time, and
And how old were they then at this point?
Dushko was in first grade, and Udosh was just turned 3.
Okay. And then for frame of reference, how old were you?
I was like 40,
Okay.
my 40s. Actually, I was probably like 40. I was almost 40 when Udosh was born. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Which is probably rare back then, not so much now.
yeah, exactly. So then somebody said, if you're a member of the Y now, you can go to the gym. And I said, it's okay if I leave them here? They said, yeah, they're fine. Just come back and pick them up when it's time. And so I got a trainer there for a minute while I did that. I didn't have that much money, so I couldn't really.
Because you were a single
I was a
mother,
single mom,
yeah,
yep.
at this point,
So,
yeah.
this guy started training me. He goes, oh, wow, you're an athlete. And I said, why do you say that? He goes, your heart rate. He said, are you a runner? And I said, no. He said, what do you
See,
do?
everyone says you're a runner.
Yeah. He said, well, what do you do to get your heart rate? I said, oh, I live at 12,000 feet altitude. And he goes, oh, my God. He couldn't believe how good my heart rate was.
Wow.
And it also really helps your lung capacity.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that's what I think they built the Olympic Training Center in Colorado for that reason.
Oh, yeah.
They actually moved it from California there to do it at elevation for those benefits. You know, boxers and fighters go to like Big Bear,
Oh, yeah.
you know, the mountain up there in California to train, you know, all for those reasons, because, you know, it's really good for your cardiovascular system. When you come back down, you almost have a third lung.
And we used to be there, and then we used to climb higher.
Oh, wow.
Climb higher. I have this cousin he lives in Cleveland right now. He's an interesting guy, but he used to live on the side of that mountain. He said every day before school he would run to the top and back down. And he used to show off to us. He was our older cousin. We went to visit, and he would do a handstand on the balcony of the second floor at my grandmother's house, and we were just like, "Can you do that?" And he could walk all over on that thing on his hands, and now he does almost nothing.
Yep.
Nothing. He's 85, but still.
So that's where, I mean, you've kept it going where, you know, it's, if you don't use it, you lose it, you know, like the old saying. So like you have to keep moving to maintain that type of stuff.
Well,
you
I
know?
always say I was born to move.
Yeah.
I have to move.
Well, I think we all are. We just
Yeah, well, I
sometimes
mean-
we don't like to hear it, right?
Yeah. So one of my mother has two stories of me. One, when I was 18 months old, we lived right next to my aunt, and we had these windows where there are those panes, you know, like every so often. And my aunt called my mother, and she goes, "Connie, you got to go in the dining room. Carmen's hanging from the curtain rod." And I was 18 months old, so I climbed up there and was hanging. I don't know how I would have gotten down without her, but I would have figured it out. Maybe
funny.
slid down the curtains.
It's like Brandon. His mom's got stories like that about him
Yeah.
climbing on things.
Then another time I was in bed taking a nap, and my mother went in there, and I wasn't there, and she noticed that the bedroom window was open. So I climbed out of my crib over this dresser, down into my brother's bed, opened the window, got out, dropped down to the ground, and was out playing with the boys.
Funny.
That's awesome.
So do you think that like you kind of almost identifying as an athlete at a very young age helped you stay active your entire life? Like that's just so much a part of your identity?
Yeah, I mean, I think my identity is more this need to move, and then I became an athlete. I don't know. I like challenges. I mean, everything I've done has kind of been a challenge for me, and that's what I love about CrossFit. Every day it's a challenge.
Yep.
Every day you can make it a challenge for yourself, no matter what the move is. I mean, yesterday I was telling Brandon, we had that sled drag and the kettlebell thing, and every time I was the second or the third person back in the door. And you know I was cooking to do that.
Yeah.
Mike Gold beat me, and Mike Billman, and then I was number 3.
Wow. That's
And I had a 45-pound weight on my sled, and I was using the blue kettlebell, so it was enough of a challenge.
Oh
for
yeah, that's the
77.
appropriate weight
Yeah.
for
For
you to use.
77,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So what is it that motivates you to keep pushing yourself? Because I think about that, like even now at 44, like sometimes I get tired of pushing myself.
Oh, I'm not tired yet. I don't know. I wonder if it's partly being one of 6 kids, and if you're gonna get anybody's attention, you got to kind of
Yeah.
Fight
Look at
for
me
it.
and do something
do something.
Yep.
All my other brothers and sisters were very academic, and I just really didn't like that.
But you're a teacher, so
I
you're
don't know. I can do it.
You're
I
good.
just
Yeah.
didn't like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
My sister used to say, "You need to read more," and I said, "You need to play more."
Aw. I still think that.
Yeah.
You still teach. I talked to you
still
in
teach.
class. You know,
Yeah.
you're like, well, I haven't been here that much this week because I was in school. You know, I subbed 3 days this week.
You're
or,
very
you know.
active.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Then I tutor after
yeah,
school.
you're
and
tutoring our kids this summer.
Yeah. No, I am
Which
active.
they're all really, really excited about. And I have to say this on here because it was so cute. I don't think I told you this, Brandon, but Oscar asked, how did Carmen get so good at teaching? And I'm like, well, she's been doing it for a long time. Because it's like, he feels like it's a sneak attack because it's so fun, you know?
Yeah.
And I
you
think,
have to make it fun.
well, that goes along with your, like, you should play more, you know,
Yeah,
you should
exactly.
read more. Well, maybe you could do a
doesn't-
little bit of both.
I mean, I thought when I did train for triathlons, that was so boring. Run, swim, bike.
And
run,
you, what
bike.
distance did you do? Because
The
there's
sprint.
The sprint,
Just the
yeah.
sprint, yeah. But that, I just hated that training.
Yeah.
But I love CrossFit. I mean,
Yeah.
I look forward to it every day. I do.
Yeah. Do you have any fitness goals right now?
Well, you know,
So you're
when I come to
working
class and I have different trainers, like when I have Dave. I think I'm a little different than your usual people. I mean, people make suggestions to me, but I don't always take them because I kind of been doing this and I kind of know what I want to do. But
what your goals are and what you want to do.
yeah, and my main goal is just to look at my Apple Watch and see where my heart rate is. Get my heart rate up in the 160s.
Yeah.
That's my goal. And if I do that, everything else grows.
Yeah.
I just PR'd in deadlift.
I thought I heard you talking to Brandon about that.
And
What did you hit?
She hit 200.
Wow.
No, I got 215 on that low one too. That was a
No, the rack pull.
On the rack pull,
on the
yeah.
rack pull, I
Yep.
got 215,
Wow.
and I did a 200 deadlift the other day, and I could have gone heavier, but it was the last one.
Yeah.
But I could have.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and then I did 70 pounds overhead with rehab. Just finished rehabbing my shoulder today, and I did. So I hadn't been using it that much, and I
Yeah.
think my PR is 90, so I was really happy with 70 pounds with that. So
And you've done the Open quite a few times,
I have.
I feel like,
I
right?
love the Open.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's a good challenge.
It is. My brain can't keep up with the double unders.
Yeah, that is so hard. The rhythm thing, I think, really coming into CrossFit a little later with athletes that are a little. I mean, I had a hell of a time with it,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm in my 30s. I'm not the most coordinated person, but like I see that like in my clients that are like in their 40s or 50s, it's really tough. They'll be athletic in
yeah.
other ways. It's just the rhythm of it.
You know, I went to a gym called Key Body Fitness. David Key's an incredible athlete too. He used to play for Michigan, and he played for the New England Patriots, and he still has a gym. But he was my trainer for a while, and he had me do those crossover things, which I could do easily.
Yep. I've
And
seen
then
you do that.
And then I went to I got my teaching certificate later because I didn't study to be a teacher. I thought it'd be too boring.
What did you study?
Sociology, psychology, and government, which is
yes.
a great foundation for teaching, really.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But anyway, so I took a gym class older, and we had double Dutch, and so I really seemed like everybody else is like 20 and I was 40, and I was the only one who could go in and out and touch the ground and jump around.
You were sending me some videos of
Yeah.
that. Okay, we should get some long ropes and try this.
We
in
should put
class.
that on this podcast as an
Yeah,
intro.
yeah.
Yeah, I was the only, and they were like, wow.
Once you get like, you gotta have to like. get
I've
in there.
never
It's-
done it. I've
Yeah.
never done it.
I've done it just like as a child
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
recess. It is a lot of fun, but it's tough.
It is
yeah.
fun. You know, I love watching kids at recess too. They are natural CrossFitters.
Yeah, it's just climbing
I
over
was
things.
telling them about
yeah.
toes to bar, a summer reading class. These were second graders. I said, I can't get, and we talk about CrossFit all the time. I said, I can't get toes to bar. And they said, let's try it at recess. They just went, boop, boop, boop. They said, is this what you can't get? I said,
You're
yeah.
like, no, it's not that at all.
Yeah.
It's much more complicated.
Yeah.
Until
Wow.
you're bigger and have 100 more pounds on you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything's easy
Yeah.
when you're a kid.
Yeah, I was talking to Oscar. We were playing base. So I take him to this park right around the corner, and we'll play baseball. And I'll hit him balls. He'll pitch. I'll pitch him balls. He'll hit, and we'll do that for like an hour and a half. And he's like, he wanted to see. He's like, I want to see like how hard can you throw? And I'm like, I'm not going to throw as hard as I can, but get back far. And I'm going to throw like a big crow hop, like an honest, like I'm in center field and I'm throw it to home plate. Probably did it 4 times. And he's like, you know, I'm like, you can stand off to the side so it doesn't like hit you.
Yeah.
And whipped it in there. I'm like, I'm going to be sore for about 3 days now. Because I mean, I let him loose. And I was like, the cool thing about you right now is you can run as fast as you can, all out. You can throw the ball as hard as you can 100 times and swing the bat as hard as you, and you will wake up and feel exactly like you do right now. I'm like, if I do that, I'm like, now I can do that harder and more aggressively, but if I do that now, I'm going to be in bed for like 2 or 3 days.
Well, you know what's interesting? I mean, yes, of course, because we're aging, but I think kids just don't have the awareness. So Oscar woke up in the middle of the night and asked, for, like, his legs were hurting him, and I remember he came home and he was like, "Man, that was so hard."
Yeah,
but you don't
wore
put
him out
that
last night.
together
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so I think
Yeah.
they still. I think they're so like even in like my 20s. I think there were so many times I felt crappy because of overdoing something. I just wouldn't connect the dots at all, or just like tie your behavior in with how you're feeling. You're like, oh, this is just random.
Yeah.
I'm feeling
Like,
this
I don't know
way,
why
like-
my legs are hurting.
Yeah, or even just you'll say that to him with food because we're trying to teach him like he had a swim meet coming up, and Brandon and I did this little photo shoot thing. So he was getting pizza, and he's like, "Well, you probably should have pizza right before the swim meet."
Yeah, don't eat a big pizza before you do a swim meet.
But
That's
like
not
to
a
go
good
out
idea.
to eat, you could probably do a burger and some like fruit, or just trying to like connect the dots of how you're feeling and how it all relates. And it's interesting. I think sometimes how much later in life you realize it. And for me, it's finding that balance. Like it's really, I was just so used to blowing through everything and kind of toughing it out until that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Until your tough wears out.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I almost never have pain, ever. And they ask you that at the doctors. Once you're past 60, have you fallen and do you have pain? I have zero pain. And everybody I know my age has pain.
Yeah, but I think you're kind of tough because you've like fallen on a boat and broken your arm and stayed on the trip halfway across the world. And you were like, I just put it and wrapped it in a little, like, I don't even think you got a proper sling, right?
They didn't have a sling. They didn't have a sling.
And everybody else, you know, anyone in any age would have flown home. You're like, no, I'm staying on this trip.
So
I've got 5 days left.
Our guide goes, that's not broke. You didn't break it. I said, I think I did. He goes, oh, you would be in so much pain. I said, I'm pretty good with pain. And he goes, it's not broken. So they weren't going to take me into the hospital. And so my cousin owns the shipping thing. And I said, oh, you know what? Mauricia said we can talk to him on the radio if we have any problems. And he goes, okay, we'll take you into the hospital. They didn't want him to know that they weren't supposed to. Actually, it's illegal for them not to take me in. They told my sister, who stayed on the boat. But anyway, so I go in, and they did it. And it was not only broken, it was shattered. And when I got back on, that guy goes, oh, you are good with pain.
Yeah.
I said, you have to believe people when they tell you.
What exactly did you do to your arm?
She slipped on a boat and she had a really bad break. How many years ago was that, Carmen? I remember
Maybe
that.
7 years ago.
But what sticks out is like you still, I mean, whatever you had finished, you're like, I have these things planned for the trip. I'm not missing all that.
Well, I had my sister and husband with me too. But the thing is, so we went to this hospital, and I use that term very loosely. I mean, there weren't chickens walking through there, but right next to it. So, and then I got the cast on, and I stayed at that port, and then they came back later after they went and saw the penguins, which we missed, and we got back on. But by that time, it was kind of swollen. It was a little tight, and I didn't know that was really dangerous. You can lose your arm because of that. I didn't know that.
If it gets like
infection.
Yeah.
It was too tight. There wasn't enough circulation. So
yeah,
I said to the guy who was taking care of us from the ship, I said, you know, this feels a little tight. He goes, okay, we'll go back. We'll go back. So we went back, and I said, I think if we just cut it here a little bit and down here, we're going to be fine. She goes, oh, the doctor that has the scissors isn't here. She's not on duty right now. And I said, you don't have any other scissors?
We've got one pair of scissors.
That will cut through this, and they don't leave them here because probably somebody would steal them. So then the janitor comes out, and he goes, "Will this work?" And he brings these greasy old, rusty old, like clippers that you work or something. And I know I said, "Yeah, oh yeah," and he did it. The doctor did it, and cut a little V here.
Just to let some of the pressure, some of the pus.
There's no pus. It's just so the blood can circulate.
Okay.
Yeah, because it starts to swell.
How long did that thing take to get better?
Oh, so I came back to the U.S. I called I sent a message to my doctor and said, I'm coming back this time. I broke my arm. Can you get me scheduled for something? Because, you know, it can take forever. And so the next day I had an appointment with this wrist surgeon who was incredible. He said, he said, you know, he said they did a good job there. He said, but it's shattered, and I can put it back together for you. And he said, and I think you want full use of that wrist, right? I said, I do. And he said, okay, let's do the surgery tomorrow. It took him 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
And then when you look at the x-ray, I said to him, you look like an engineer. He goes, well, actually, my undergrad was engineering.
Wow.
That's good for a surgeon.
You know, you've had some other health, because I've known you for 15 years. You've had some other health issues. I mean, you had a really big surgery.
Life-threatening. Diverticulitis attack.
Yeah, and we came to visit you in the hospital. I mean, it was scary for a second.
I think you guys didn't think I was going to come back from that, too.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah.
Wait, we got.
I didn't think that you thought I'd come back from that.
No, I just got scared. You know, because you don't complain much, and you're such a strong person, and I feel like there's times in people's lives where it's just a little scary. It's not that, but it just was scary to see you like that. You know. you know.
But within days, I was walking. They can't let you go home until you poop. So I was there for 11 days. But
Yeah.
I was going up, and they said, "You want to walk the stairs?" I said, "Yeah." They could tell.
And you had a large part of your intestine removed, right,
Yeah,
for
exactly.
diverticulitis.
Cool.
Yeah.
Not about you enough.
Yeah. And you were in a lot of pain though.
Oh,
You had a lot of pain with that.
did.
So
I
I
did.
remember that. And you've been through your struggles. It's not
Yeah.
like, anyone that watches is like, oh, screw her, she's gotten lucky. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, I
you
did.
just choose to be well and think that you're strong and move through it.
So the surgeon afterwards, he said, "When I saw you were this close to dead," and that's because
That's serious stuff.
and that's because I think because I'm so good with pain, so now I take pain a little more seriously.
Yeah.
If I feel
Like
a
your
little-
body's talking to you.
yeah,
or-
because
yeah.
I'm almost critical when I start to feel pain. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I did come back from that. Yeah, that was probably a challenge.
Yeah. I'd say.
Yeah, I mean,
But you don't let any of this define you, which is really
No,
awesome.
No,
and you keep coming in here and figuring a way to make it work and make it happen. And like, I'll coach you occasionally, and we take class together a lot. And you're pretty good, like self-start. Like I'm like, hey, do you want rings or are you gonna do bands? And you're like, oh, I've got my band set up. Like you've got your rhythm and stuff. And like, I'll be like, maybe this, but like you know where you want to go with things. I'm like, your body and what's going to be the best way to go with it.
And I usually choose what's going to make me stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do a good job of that.
Sore after doing the banded pull-ups than the ring rows.
Yep.
So
And I like, there's some people who I have to, like, no, I like, I'm not going to let them do it a certain way, but like you make the modifications and do the things the right way, and you're not doing it out of ego and things like that. You're making good choices for yourself. So
I mean, one of my mottos too every day I come in is nothing to prove. They're really, and I only look at. I mean, I did just tell you I came in third through the door, so I do pay attention to it. But
Nothing to prove, but I was third.
Just let you know.
Yeah.
You can give me my ribbon afterwards.
But that's another thing I like about CrossFit too, is that I can always see where I am with me. You know?
Yeah.
And my Apple Watch helps me see my heart rate and where I am.
Yeah.
And what's working. And
But
what's
just
not
kind of
working.
working on improving on yourself and not paying attention to.
And I even did that in high school. And I remember we had this big game, and I only had one real competitor, and she has the name of a poet, which was interesting. She was a black athlete who was incredible at basketball too, and we played them. That was our only real game, and we were down by 1 point, and I went to the free throw line and I missed it. And people said, "But you're really disappointed?" I said, "No, it was a fun game. It was a good game. I played well. They played well." I said, "I'm not that really interested about the win." And I wasn't. And I'm still not really.
yeah, it's a good attitude to have.
Yeah.
What keeps you coming back to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't wear on you so much mentally. It's more fun.
Oh, it is fun. It is fun. There's some days I look at it and I think, ooh, can I do that? It's mainly because of my shoulder. It's mainly because of my shoulders, but it's
Yeah.
like devil's press. I didn't know devil's press used to be called man makers.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard them called that.
It's a different, it can be a little different move, but yeah,
Is it?
it's
Yeah. Oh, okay.
it wasn't a move when we started CrossFit. It kind of like came in, is
I
it a
remember
street
you
parking move? Do you is
I
that
don't know
where
where
it came from?
I think I don't know where it originated, but just the push-up,
I feel
push-up,
like,
row.
yeah.
I used to throw it in a lot.
I feel like it might be like a Miranda Oldroyd move, like the actual devil's press. Like she.
Oh, I think you're talking about the man makers. That was
Yeah,
like,
not the
I
man
saw those on YouTube
maker
15 years
specific
ago.
one where you're doing that. The one where you dive into the ground and then you're doing the dual dumbbell snatch sort of action with it is, I believe street parking may have kind
Yeah,
of
because I
came
don't
up with
remember
that.
doing that when we
Because
first
they were
started, but you
basically
guys-
all
yeah.
dumbbells and a pull-up bar when that whole thing started, and
It's a good move.
it is.
I like it.
Yeah.
I really like it. It's a challenge. It's another one that gets my heart rate up too. So
Oh,
sled
yeah.
drag and
Yeah.
that one, I really
Yeah.
like those.
Yeah.
The
Well,
rower.
you inspire us all, and it's really,
Good.
really awesome
You know,
to have you
I
here.
can't really believe when I see things that I do that I'm 77 and still doing it.
Yeah.
I just have to think, wow, never
That's
really
pretty
believed
neat.
that. Yeah.
I hope to be the same.
Well, let's keep it rolling, Carmen.
Thanks.
Thanks
All
for
right,
coming
thanks
on.
for coming on.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Enjoyed it.